The glass shattered like thunder. A jagged rain of shards clattered to the floor as Clara stumbled backward, her hand pressed to her mouth. The creditors had come in the morning with cold eyes and harder hands, dragging away every last treasure until the little shop her husband had built was nothing but ruin. The shelves stood bare, the counters overturned, and the silence left behind was heavier than any noise. Hello, my beautiful listeners. Welcome back to another heart-touching story. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and stay with us. Your support keeps these stories alive. Tonight, I bring you a tale of pain, resilience, and light. A story we call Broken But Beautiful. Clara sank to her knees, palms pressing into the glittering wreckage. Tiny cuts bloomed red across her skin, but she didn't care. Around her, broken glass caught the weak daylight, cruelly beautiful, like 1,000 eyes staring at her failure. In the doorway, her neighbors whispered, "Poor widow. Nothing left for her but broken pieces." Their words stung sharper than the glass, and Clara bowed her head, whispering through tears, "Is this all my life will ever be?" The days that followed were heavy with shame. Clara barely left her cottage, too weak to face the pitying glances in town. At night she lay awake, staring at the ceiling as her husband's laughter haunted her. She remembered the glow of their glass shop, sunlight dancing through colors, his skilled hands shaping wonders. Now the shop was empty, and so was she. Hunger gnawed, but grief gnawed deeper. One restless dawn, she found herself standing in the ruins again. Shards crunched under her shoes as she stared at the debris. For reasons she couldn't explain, her eyes lingered on how the broken glass still caught the light. She crouched, reaching for a green fragment. It gleamed against her skin, as if alive. A thought stirred, soft but insistent. Maybe the broken pieces still have meaning. Her fingers trembled, but she filled a basket with red, blue, and clear shards until her hands blistered. By evening, her neighbors shook their heads. The widow has lost her mind. But Clara, for the first time in months, felt a faint spark of purpose. That night, Clara spread the shards across her small wooden table. Candlelight flickered against their jagged edges, painting her walls with dancing colors. She touched each piece gently, as though greeting fragments of her past. She had no tools, no money for proper supplies, only patience and memory. She remembered watching her husband work, how he balanced color, how he trusted the glass to tell its own story. Slowly, clumsily, Clara began to arrange the shards into patterns, testing how one hue glowed beside another. Her fingers slipped often. The glass cut her palms, leaving fresh lines of red. Yet Clara did not stop. Pain reminded her she was still alive. By dawn, an image had begun to emerge, uneven, messy, but alive. It was not just broken glass anymore. It was the start of something new. She fell asleep at the table, tears drying on her cheeks. Days turned into weeks. Neighbors passed her window at night, seeing her lamp still burning. Some muttered she was wasting time. Others pitied her, saying grief had made her foolish. Clara ignored them. She worked through fatigue and hunger, her hands raw from cuts, but each day the pieces grew more beautiful. And then, one morning, sunlight streamed into her cottage and caught her creation. Colors spilled across the walls, fiery red, deep blue, golden green. Clara gasped. She had done it. She had turned wreckage into wonder. A small boy was the first to see it. He stopped at her open door, wide-eyed. "It looks like magic," he whispered. Clara startled, embarrassed, but his wonder filled her heart. Soon, more villagers came, curious about the colors glowing from her window. "How could trash become this?" they murmured. Clara lowered her gaze, unsure whether to feel pride or shame. Yet for the first time, their whispers did not sound like knives. They sounded like hope. Then came a knock at her door. It was a priest from the chapel. His voice was gentle but firm. "Clara, your hands carry a gift. Will you make a window for the house of God?" Clara trembled. "Me? But I'm broken." The priest smiled. "Perhaps that is why the light shines through you." Her eyes blurred with tears, but she nodded. That night, she knelt by her table again, no longer for survival, but for calling. The chapel smelled of stone and silence when Clara stepped inside, carrying her basket of glass. Villagers had gathered to watch, whispering again. This time, their voices were different, curious, even expectant. Clara set to work in the corner, trembling at first. Her hand shook, but when she touched the shards, something shifted. It was as if her husband's memory guided her fingers. Piece by piece, she began to build a window that would catch heaven's light. The work consumed her. Weeks blurred into one another. Sometimes she cut herself so badly that blood streaked the colors, but she pressed on. And slowly, a window began to rise, a soaring picture of a dove breaking through storm clouds. Whenever villagers passed the chapel, they paused, awed by the way colors shimmered even before the work was complete. Rumors spread. The widow has been given a gift. But not everyone was pleased. A wealthy merchant who once mocked her husband now sneered. "Pretty scraps won't feed the hungry," he spat. He laughed that she was wasting the chapel's time. His words cut deeper than glass, but Clara kept working. At night she prayed, "Lord, I have nothing left but these broken pieces. If there is meaning in them, let your light show it." At last, the day came when the final shard was placed. Clara stepped back, heart pounding. Sunlight burst through the window, an explosion of color that drenched the chapel in gold, red, and blue. Gasps filled the air. Children pointed. Elders wept. For a moment, it felt as though heaven itself had descended into that small village. Clara's knees gave way, and she covered her face, overwhelmed. The priest laid a hand on her shoulder. "Do you see, Clara? Brokenness does not end a story. Sometimes it begins one." His words lit something deep in her chest. She realized she had not just rebuilt glass, she had rebuilt herself. That night, as the villagers gathered around her cottage with gifts of bread and coins, Clara finally smiled. For the first time since her husband's death, she felt the weight of despair lift. Yet deep inside, she knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, word of Clara's window spread beyond the village. Travelers passing through stopped at the chapel just to see the colors spill like liquid fire across the stone floor. Some left coins at Clara's door. Others brought broken glass from far towns, asking if she could give their fragments new life. Clara's cottage, once silent and forgotten, now glowed each night with lamplight as she worked. But with the new attention came pressure. One nobleman offered to buy her window outright, promising her wealth if she would remove it from the chapel. Clara shook her head firmly. This was not made for gold. It was made for God and for those who need hope. Her voice, though soft, carried such conviction that even the nobleman fell silent. That night, Clara wept, not from despair this time, but from gratitude. She realized she was no longer the helpless widow people pitied. She was a creator, a vessel of light. One evening, as she was arranging shard for another piece, a small girl tugged her sleeve. "My mother says you make broken things beautiful. Can you fix me too?" Clara's heart clenched. She knelt, holding the child close. "You are not broken," she whispered. "You are waiting to shine." The girl smiled, and in that moment, Clara felt her purpose more deeply than ever. The years rolled on. The widow who once lived in ruins became a legend. Her stained glass adorned chapels and homes across the land. Each piece carried her touch, imperfect edges, yet radiant with light. And through it all, she never forgot the day she first gathered shards in trembling hands. Pain had been her teacher. Brokenness had been her beginning. And so, when people asked her secret, Clara always answered with the same quiet smile. Do not fear your shattered places. When light finds them, they can become your greatest beauty. My dear listeners, thank you for staying with me through this journey. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share so you don't miss the next tale. Until then, remember, even in your brokenness, light can still shine through you. Stay blessed, and good night.